All right, I want to welcome you into this special WNBA KOIN conversation here in the KOIN Now booth. I'm Jamie Hudson. I'm very excited for Schatz to join us today on our podcast. Ann is beloved here in Portland. Of course, many of you know this is her Portland resume, as she was the KOIN 6 sportscaster, the first female sports reporter and anchor here in the Rose City. And yes, she was also the Portland Fire color analyst, as well as a sideline reporter, studio host, and more for the Portland Trailblazers. And many of you know her for working with the Portland Pilots broadcast as well. As we welcome in Ann. Ann, thank you so much for taking the time today.
I'm delighted to be with you, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks, Ann. We're so excited to have you. Our KOIN Conversation shows. This is a new thing that we just started, and it's so fun because we get to catch up with friends that we haven't talked to in so long, just like you, Ann. So let's go back to when the first, or the day that the WNBA announced that the Portland franchise was returning. Where were you, and what were your thoughts?
Man, it was one of those moments, Jamie, where I thought I need to get this confirmed because the year prior to the official announcement, Portland was so close to being granted a WNBA franchise, and it never happened. You know, it felt like we were at the 1 foot line, and we couldn't get over that goal line. But then when it became official, I remember getting it confirmed, making sure my sources were right, making sure that everything I was reading on the wire was right. And I had a mix of emotions. There was a lot of memories. There was so much excitement. And there was this feeling of gratitude that the Portland fan base that was so loyal for the 3 short years the Fire were in existence in the early aughts, that this fan base was going to get to experience the Fire again. New iteration, years later, decades later, and yet this fan base, which is growing exponentially, there will be thousands and thousands of new fans, but that original fan base was going to be rewarded with another crack at the WNBA. That made me really happy.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, Ann. I mean, just how deserving is this Portland community and the state of Oregon, because women's sports are so important here.
Portland has established itself as a no-nonsense but very energetic fan base for women's sports, regardless of the sport. And it's been a huge basketball state for years and years and decades now. And of course, the Portland Thorns come in, and we just amp up our reputation as being one of the greatest women's sports cities in the world. But what this new Fire team is going to do, Jamie, it is really going to accentuate how this city can embrace women's professional sports at the highest level with teams competing in the same season at the same time. It's not going to be the Thorns against the Fire. What it's going to be is those boats rise, as that trendy saying is going to be oh so true. It will be, I think, something that we can't even anticipate right now. It's going to be so massive to see the Thorns and the Fire competing in the summer into the fall, and both of those teams feeding off of each other. And of course, it makes sense with the ownership group. Yep. And it's going to be massively successful.
And Ann, it's so cool that they have a practice facility
Yes.
together. That's amazing.
You don't see that anywhere else. That's the first, when you have that kind of crossover and dual sports practice facility, it's going to be state of the art. We know that. $150 million facility that's going to be tailor made for the Portland Thorns slash soccer and the Portland Fire slash basketball. Again, these teams coexisting with the ownership, making sure that both teams, both franchises, are treated equitably and top shelf.
Yes, it's so exciting. Now, Ann, were you surprised at all that they went with the Portland Fire name again? Or are you excited? Because, I mean, for me, the nostalgia of it all is
Oh,
amazing.
I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. When I think of the Portland Fire, I think of that fire burning inside of those players and in that fan base and in the city and the state. That's what brings back those kinds of memories. So it is nostalgic, but I also think it's very powerful. And I think it's very relevant to how this city is going to embrace this team again, but even at a higher level. I think it's a fantastic nickname to go back to. The logo is absolutely stunning. It's absolutely gorgeous. You know, when you think about the two new teams in the WNBA next year, Toronto and Portland, East Coast, West Coast, it's going to be, I just think, dynamic. And as this league continues to grow, remember, three more teams will be added before 2030. But as this league continues to grow, Portland, it's the perfect time, it's the perfect place for them to come back into the W.
I want to talk more about the growth of this league, but first, Ann, the launch party. It was so cool. There were hundreds of people, not to mention it was 95 degrees, Ann, here in Portland. And people showing up, showing out, showing their support. And what was really cool is the team talking about how former players are going to be involved. They showed a video of Jackie Stiles, and the crowd was going wild. How valuable do you think that is to have former players come and be a part of this new organization?
Absolutely huge. I'm glad you brought that up because there are some names that will always be near and dear to anyone who followed the Fire way back when and anyone who understands women's basketball. You bring up Jackie Stiles, Tully Bevilacqua, Vanessa Nygaard, Sylvia Crawley. You've got Sophia Weatherspoon, Stacey Thomas, Michelle Marciniak. I could go on and on and on. The alumni of the original Portland Fire is still just held so near and dear to the hearts of basketball fans in this state and beyond. And I think the franchise would be really smart to make sure that the alums, that there's some kind of a massive reunion. And if that happens, the fans and those players coming back to salute the new iteration of the Portland Fire is going to be something else.
That's so exciting, Ann. And I think a month ago I saw Jackie Stiles was training or, running her camps. She's got plenty of summer camps that she's doing right now, and she had the Portland WNBA shirt on.
Love it.
It's so good. Hey, do you think the I-5 rivalry is going to be back between Portland and Seattle?
Do I think? Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And you bring up Seattle, and it's a great example. Seattle comes into the WNBA the same time the Portland Fire did way back in 2000. Okay? They were one of the expansion teams that comes into the league same year. And that franchise showed you what staying power can do if you just stick with it and you get through those first few lean years. And you've seen countless of WNBA titles being celebrated up north with the Seattle Storm. That franchise stayed with the team in the lean years, did not fold, and they became quickly one of the premier franchises in the WNBA and still are. My cap is off to what Seattle did to make sure that those lean years were part of the growing process, part of the learning process. The Fire didn't do that first time around. Wasn't the team's fault, wasn't the Fire's management fault. I don't want to put blame on anybody. All I'm saying is you stick with this franchise. Understand there could be some lean years. It's an expansion franchise. Or you can think about the Golden State Valkyries, the expansion team in the WNBA this year, leading the league in attendance. One of the best success stories a WNBA franchise team has ever experienced. This season's Golden State Valkyries. That could be your Portland Fire. That could be your Portland Fire. You've sold a ton of tickets. The fan base is ready to go. So dream big, shoot for the moon.
And the league, the W, it's exploded. We know this, Ann, but for you, how do you put into words what the last couple of years have looked like for the W?
Well, you look at the marketing research, you look at the numbers, and you see the trend that was starting to ascend in terms of the critical uh, reports and numbers that have to be in place for the league to continue to expand because it's got to be successful in order to do that. Now, of course, the Caitlin Clark effect comes into play. There were mega superstars before Caitlin, but the Caitlin Clark effect is real. It's unprecedented. We've never seen anything like it in women's sports. And that has just jump started the ascension into another level. Uh, the players that have made themselves available, social media, the availability of these players. The players are stronger, faster, more powerful. They're they've always been willing and have always wanted to and have always expressed their positions politically, social activism. The WNBA has been, as far as I'm concerned, the league that has led and set the standard in social activism. But they're also smart enough to understand are these players branding and social media and getting the outfits out there and the orange carpet and them expressing themselves. You combine that with the Caitlin Clark effect, with the just how good the college programs are, how good international basketball is, all of these players coming into the WNBA fold, and it's not surprising to me at all. You look at the TV ratings, you look at the attendance, you look at the media deals. It is saying that the WNBA and its present tense explosion is going to continue to rise.
And that's such a good point. I think about the access now with social media and fans can interact with players because, just like you mentioned, think about all the superstars over the years Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, like so many favorites of mine growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't as much opportunity to get to know the players like there is now.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And these players want to reach out. They want to be accessible. They want you to understand who they are, why they are, how they are. And how great is that? So when fans come to games, there's this connection, there's this humanity, there's this reach out and touch your favorite player, and she's going to respond with an autograph, with a nod, with a wave, with a thank you. There is an immense level of gratitude that the WNBA players, past and present, have for the ever growing fan bases and the ever growing exposure thanks to every podcast, every cable outlet, every way that their stories can be told. Those stories are being told. These players know it. They're taking advantage of it so that they can connect with this fan base, whatever city they're in, and watch the attendance rise, the merchandise, and everything else that goes with it. Ratings, merch, attendance, all that. This is not some accidental, oh, gee, isn't that a feel good moment? No way. This is a calculated, intelligent, but genuine reach that the WNBA is establishing with its fan base all over the world.
Yes, and oh, I've been counting down to the next season, and I mean, I love this season, but of course, getting the fire back, oh, it kind of feels surreal still at this moment.
Yeah, you guys are gonna love it. Get to know this league because you're in it next year. So
Hmm.
get to know these players and these faces and their stories. Watch the playoffs. They are incredibly compelling. Understand that the WNBA expansion draft is coming soon after the playoffs, and that's when your fire team will be able to select players from the existing teams that aren't left protected. Understand what expansion draft is all about. Understand what free agency is all about. And see where your team is going to fit with the WNBA draft. Because the class coming in 2026 for your fire, you're probably not going to get the number one draft pick. The Valkyries didn't. I think they had the number 5 pick. But you're going to get a high pick. and the class is loaded. So pay attention to this stuff.
That's such great advice, Ann. No, you're so right. Hey, let's go back, since I have you here, let's go back to your KOIN 6 days. Thinking back to those days, and I mean, obviously, it's amazing that you were the first female sports anchor and host here in Portland.
Yep.
Are there some stories that you could share with us from those days? And also, how have you seen things change? Like, how do you put that into words?
Well, obviously things have changed a ton. I've had the good fortune of watching Brenna Green do her thing for the last few years, and she does right by KOIN. She does right by the viewers. She does right by every athlete that comes across her path. So I'm encouraged by the fact that there are some wonderful women's sports broadcasters in the Portland metro area, but I wish there were more. I'm going to be really honest with you. I wish there were more. And I think that we have to continue to elevate and work with young women that want to dream about being a sports broadcaster, what it takes to get to this place, and how dreaming big is not dreaming impossible. This is something that these young women can aspire to. We need to get to them in high school. We need to get to them in college. We need to help them understand that there's a way to reach their dream. And I want more women sportscasters in the Portland metro area. That's what I want.
Love that message, Ann. Do you have any KOIN 6 stories to share with us?
Oh, man. Some of my best memories. I came from Omaha, Nebraska, where Nebraska football was king, but I never had the good fortune of working with a professional team. So I moved to Portland knowing that I get to jump into the deep end with the Portland Trailblazers. And that was one of, so when I arrived to Portland and KOIN in January of '89, that's when the Portland Trailblazers were rocking and rolling. So I get to be introduced to that team and that coaching staff, some of the finest humans I've ever been around. Some of the most inclusive, kind, wonderful people that I've ever been around. Not one single guy on that team, Jamie, not one single guy on that team or staff looked at me with side eyes. They never gave me grief. They never rolled their eyes. They never, whatever. Because here I am, a female in the midst. And all those guys did was treat me with so much respect. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. All the guys at the other stations, I mean, the gentlemen that I got to work with, Rick and Ed and Gary, those guys that I got to work with here at KOIN, they treated me like $1,000,000, but it was the other guys at the other stations that took me under their wing. Those are some of my favorite stories and some of my favorite people. So, it was chasing that NBA title. We were so close. It was Tanya Harding, Lord have mercy. That's a whole nother podcast, Jamie. It was the Tanya Harding craziness in 1994. And it seems like forever ago, and yet that's a story that never ends, a story that never dies. Just all the high school and college kids that I got to be around. Oh my goodness. Some of the best memories of my lifetime have been state tournaments or going to Oregon or Oregon State practices, regardless of sport. But I'll hang my hat on those Blazer days when I arrived here, Jamie. Some of them, they were so special, and those guys, I just love them to death.
Oh, and I know that they felt the same about you. We still talk about how much we miss Ann Schatz, Blazers. Hey, speaking of the Blazers, I mean, I know you keep up with them, man. How have you thought Coach Chauncey Billups has been able to take this young squad, looking at last season, seeing the progress, and now with young Hansing, we are very excited to have this rookie. So what are your thoughts for this upcoming season?
Well, that was a bold draft pick, wasn't it?
It was. We did not see that one coming, Ann.
Well, nobody did.
Yep.
Second or third round or something, but I think he's going to be one of the better stories in the rookie class of this upcoming season. Um, which, the Blazers need good stories, but they're getting them. So what Billups and those young bucks did the second half of the season was really noteworthy. Now, what becomes imperative is, can they avoid another slow start? Slow starts have been really the Achilles heel for some of these Blazer teams as of late. So if they can avoid that kind of slow start, they can ride the momentum that they know Dame is back, can't play as he rehabs the Achilles. But you've got positive stories already in place. And just get out to a 500 start, and you watch the fan base go bananas again, like it was the second half of the season last year, and like it usually is every year.
Yeah. Do you attribute that to their youth, the slow starts?
Um, I think that's a convenient. I think that's
Thing to
low
say.
hanging fruit.
Yeah.
I don't buy into that quite. I'm not a coach. I'm not in the front office, but I see a lot of young teams that do have success early on, and it's possible. And why not them? This is the year they have to really prove that the second half of the season when they had nothing left to lose. That's great, but that was then. This is now, and a really strong start. I'm not talking about a 750 percentage start. I'm talking about the kind of start that gets them and keeps them in playoff contention as we get into the winter months. But I think these first couple of months are absolutely imperative, and no excuses. No excuses. These guys have time and experience under their belt. It's time to be consistent for the entire season and not chunks of it.
And you mentioned just how valuable it's going to be to have Dame back as a mentor
Yeah.
for Scoot
Yep.
Henderson, Shane Sharp, all the young guys. But then you also have Drew Holiday in the mix to be a leader. What do you think about that dynamic?
Well, I think he's going to be able to do his thing immediately while Dame rehabs. And listen, these guys are professionals. They're going to figure out a way to make sure that coexistence isn't an issue. They're not. Lillard will never be a guy that stirs up trouble, or a guy that's a cancer in the locker room. He's not that guy. Now he's used to being the guy. So let's see. It's going to be interesting to watch Dame come back, rehabbing for a whole year, being out of commission. He's going to come back. The speaking of the fire in that guy's gut is like
Unbelievable.
few others. So anybody who's writing him off, I think it's a little premature, and I think he will absolutely be the guy that makes sure he works really well with things that are working and in place. I don't think you're going to have an issue.
Yeah, I'm with you, Ann. Well, Ann, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. It's so great to catch up with you.
I loved it. You asked such great questions, and I'm not, I'm just saying thank you for doing your homework. Thank you for including me and having me on as a KOIN alum. I hope you know that I cherish my time with all of you, and those were years that I still draw from. So thank you very, very much for having me.
Oh, thanks so much, Ann. And you are so welcome. And you can come visit the KOIN Tower anytime, okay?
I like it.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks so much. That is Ann Schatz, and this is your KOIN Conversation.